Imagine you are sitting in a Salesforce developer interview, and the interviewer asks, "Can you explain what Dynamic SOQL is, and why would you use it over a regular SOQL query?" Now, here's a simple and strong way to answer this question in an interview. Dynamic SOQL is when you build your SOQL query as a string while your code is actually running. Instead of writing it out in full beforehand, you use it when you don't know exactly what the query will look like until the user does something, like filling out a search form or selecting a filter. For example, imagine you have a search page where a user types in an account name. You don't know what they will type, so you can't hard code the query. Instead, you build the query as a string at runtime using a method called database.query and pass the user's input into it. That's Dynamic SOQL in action. One important thing to always mention in an interview is SOQL injection. Because you're building queries from user input, there's a risk that someone could pass in malicious text to manipulate your query. To prevent this, Salesforce gives you a method called escape single quotes, which escapes any single quotes in the user's input so it can't break your query logic. If you're on a newer API version, you can also use database.query-with-binds, which lets you pass bind variables through a map instead of relying on variables being in scope. This is a cleaner and safer approach, especially in more complex code. And just like regular SOQL, Dynamic SOQL follows the same governor limits, so it counts toward your query limits just the same. Now let's talk about 2 or 3 follow-up questions the interviewer might ask and how to think about answering them. The first one could be, what is SOQL injection and how do you prevent it? Keep your answer simple. Just say that SOQL injection happens when a user passes unexpected input that changes how your query behaves. You prevent it by using the escape single quotes method, which makes sure any single quotes in the input are treated as plain text, not as part of the query command. The second follow-up could be, what is the difference between database.query and database.query-with-binds? The key point here is that with database.query, your bind variables need to be in scope where the query runs. With database.query-with-binds, you pass a map of values directly into the method, so the variables don't need to be in scope. It's a more flexible and safer approach. A third follow-up might be, does Dynamic SOQL have any limits? The answer is yes, it follows the same governor limits as regular SOQL. So the same rules apply, nothing special or different. If you keep your answer simple, structured, and backed with a small example like the search form scenario, you will come across as confident and clear in your interview. You don't need to go deep into every detail. Just show that you understand what it is, when to use it, and how to keep it safe.